Your heart holds a secret weight. In ancient Egypt, that weight meant everything. Too heavy, and your essence was lost to Amit the devourer. Balanced, and you would walk forever in fields of golden grain. The Egyptians believed it was not only the heart, but also the words spoken in truth that shaped eternity. In their rites, the journey paired these spoken confessions with the feather of Ma'at resting on the scales, together deciding your place in the afterlife. Tonight, you won't just hear the myth explained. You'll feel its stillness as your own soul approaches that moment of balance. Not in fear, but in peaceful recognition. And from this quiet, your awakening begins. Hello, dear listener. Welcome to your journey to sleep on the Cozy Nights channel. Before we get started, feel free to like and subscribe. You open your eyes into silence so deep it feels like the walls are listening. No breeze, no voices, not even the echo of breath. Only stillness. The air carries a weight, cooler than anything you remember, scented with cedar and resin that seeped into stone during the long rituals of mummification. The chamber is narrow but deliberate, its painted figures leaning close, watching. A torch sputters near the wall, flame rocking back and forth, stretching shadows across hieroglyphs that seem alive as they flicker. And, tucked in the wrappings below, hidden amulets and spells rest, small tools of protection placed there with care, meant to guard this journey. Nothing here is casual. Every mark, every object has purpose. Your gaze falls to the body on the stone. The skin is oiled and preserved, hands folded neatly over the chest. But you are no longer bound to that frame. You rise without muscles or bone, motion without effort, as if mist drifts free from river water. A lightness takes hold, without rupture or pain, only the slow widening of distance between you and that still figure. The Egyptians named this part of you the Ba, the soul that could move and roam. The Ka, your inner double, lingers with the silent body, the force that marked you as living and stays tethered, waiting. Two halves of one existence, separate now, but still connected. The walls stir with meaning. Painted spells seem to hum inside your chest, soundless but clear, while carved guardians raise staffs and stretch wings. Eyes watch eternally, open and unblinking, guarding against forces unseen. Between their shapes are inscriptions, fragments of the Book of the Dead, etched or painted to guide your steps, showing which words to speak when silence weighs heavy. These patterns are not just reminders, they are the very maps and keys for what comes next. And yet you hover, unsure of direction. The chamber's silence presses, but under it is a soft pull, an invitation, not a command. It draws you forward, as if the path already remembers you. There is a faint recognition, the sense that this movement is not new, but rehearsed by countless souls before you. The strangeness seeps in quietly. Not a shattering break from life, but something gentler, closer to waking from deep sleep. You know that in dreams there is a moment, before the alarm, before moving, where weightlessness and silence stretch, unbroken. This is that moment, only longer, fuller, steady with eternity. Here, the soul begins, not with panic or tearing, but by slipping onto a new shore, calm and natural. The chamber seems to thin. Heavy walls dissolve into brightness, edges glowing into a horizon where time folds in two directions at once. Dusk and dawn mingled. A sun, low, yet radiant, hangs in the distance, coloring the earth in gold. Before you stretches the Nile, but not the river you knew, grand, endless, eternal. It glides as if it were the vein of existence itself. You float closer, stone yielding to open air, roof giving way to endless sky. Stars blink awake above like countless eyes, steady and watchful. You feel no fear as the space grows vast. It welcomes you across its expanse, carrying you on. Your ascent is smooth, not rushed. You might expect departure to be harsh, but each breathless step carries no resistance, only guidance. The separation is not a loss, it is a rhythm, already written, a pace set to lead you into what waits beyond. You rise like water spilling from an urn, breaking its boundary but flowing cleanly. It is here the duat opens, not a single road, but many paths, each bending through the structure carved by gods to separate order from chaos. The golden light steadies. The great river seems to pause, waiting for you, as though nothing may continue until you arrive. And in that stillness, the last shadow of uncertainty melts away. The horizon shifts, steadies, and a figure takes shape in the glow. Tall, stately, his presence aligns the world around him. Eyes, older than night, hold your gaze, the clear shape of a jackal's form gleaming beneath the light. He does not threaten, nor does he startle. There is only quiet recognition that this one has been near you all along, waiting until now to reveal himself. Across the widening glow, a figure rises from the light itself. Tall, composed, his outline steady against the horizon. Shoulders squared in silence, his bearing is firm, yet calm. Where a human face might be, the sharp lines of a jackal's head appear, sleek and dark. In his eyes rests a depth without end, a quiet night sky folded into a single gaze. They do not burn, they do not threaten. They hold you in stillness, as though the path ahead becomes steadier simply by the weight of his presence. He is Anubis, the jackal-headed guardian of the dead, embalmer of bodies and protector of souls. This is the god who prepared the lifeless form you left behind, who oversaw the rituals to preserve your vessel, and now walks beside you in the journey beyond. His task is to guard, to guide, not to punish. The judgment itself belongs to Osiris, who sits within the great hall as eternal judge. Anubis, instead, escorts you through the uncertain paths so that you do not travel them alone. At first, you half expect fear to rise within you. Surely the one who weighs hearts against Ma'at's feather must radiate a threat. Yet nothing about him pushes you toward dread. His presence does not scold, it steadies. Unlike modern images of death cloaked in fear and punishment, the Egyptians knew him as a protector, even a comfort. His arrival said clearly, this journey was prepared for, and you will not stumble without direction. That thought eases the quiet knot of worry beneath your chest. As he walks, you sense him slipping seamlessly into the stories you've heard all your life. He was always there at the thresholds, the chamber of mummification, the lining of the tomb, the annotations of the Book of the Dead intertwined with a body's wrappings. He guided the car with vigilance, watching the bar take flight and return. His presence was written in spells on papyrus scrolls, painted across carved walls, invoked so that when the soul awoke, it would not awake into loneliness. Those same words are with you now, placed deliberately for this very crossing. Old spells, stored in memory and ink, wait at your lips. They hold answers for the gates and guardians that lie beyond. You were never meant to speak blind. Each step he makes ripples unseen currents, currents that pull you along without resistance. The vast horizon, with its rivers and stars, might otherwise feel disorienting. A sky without boundary, a ground without path. But beside him, there is direction. He does not command the space. He shapes it, transforms empty expanse into a road with beginning and purpose. Where there could have been confusion, he brings a deep sense of orientation. You remember the role the text once described. At the gates, guardians would stand, asking for truth in word and heart. Without spells, without guidance, a soul might falter, turned back for lack of what must be spoken. But with Anubis walking beside you, the prospect shifts. Instead of interrogation, you sense instruction. Instead of fear, reassurance. He is not here to decide your fate, but to safeguard your steps, so that judgment, when it comes, will be met properly. Around you the radiance thins, its edges tremble, darkening into tones of black water. Across the expanse lies a river, broad and still, its surface reflective not of the sun, but of constellations trembling far overhead. It is not the Nile you knew, yet it carries its remembered shape, the sense of crossing from one side to another, from life into what must follow. This sight might have unsettled the living, standing at such a brink. But here, at its edge, Anubis does not press or retreat. His presence is enough to remind you that the river is not a denial, but a passage written for every soul. You feel your breathing, if breath could still be called that, settle into rhythm. Fear of judgment ebbs. The anxious clinging to the world behind loosens bit by bit. This is what the Egyptians hoped for. Not panic before eternity, but a safe transition, dignified and calm. Anubis embodies that wish, the guardian not of endings, but of orderly beginnings. He is the calm at the threshold, the figure who assures you that the unknown is not chaos. It is directed, purposeful. As the horizon clears and the wide water gleams before you, Anubis halts at the shore. The golden light softens, leaving only the shimmer of black current between you and the path ahead. He does not speak, yet you understand. Your next movement must be yours alone. His role is not to carry you, but to steady you as you lift your own step. The river waits, vast and silent, its surface stirred only by threads of starlight gliding across it. Somewhere in the stillness, you sense motion already prepared. A vessel resting nearby, a passage not of struggle, but of acceptance. Anubis does not need to point it out. You see it forming now, slender and dark, waiting at the water's edge. The crossing begins with stillness. The bark carries you out into the water of the Duat, its small frame steady as though the river itself chooses to hold it up. Beneath you spreads not the blue Nile of midday, nor the flood-swollen currents of memory, but something darker, deeper, its glow drawn from starlight scattered above. This river is more than water. It is boundary and passage. As Ra moves each night in his bark through the hidden hours, so the dead are imagined to follow upon similar waters, carried across night toward renewal. It is a mirrored rhythm, old and trusted, shaping this crossing with quiet purpose. The surface beneath your vessel shimmers black, yet it glows faintly, as if stars rest embedded in the current. The boat glides without sound, drawn forward by a tide you cannot see but deeply feel. There is no tug from below, no rushing pressure. It is not a river that fights, it carries. In Egyptian thought, the Duat was formed not as emptiness, but as a place mapped by order. Hours unfolding, each one another stage upon the soul's journey. You are in motion through those same invisible hours, mirroring the course of the sun slipping below the horizon and reborn at dawn. The myths speak of dangers below and guardians at the gates, but your passage is gentle when the rites are kept. You sense the river could surge with serpents or shadowed threats drawn in the old texts, yet none disturb the stillness now. The calm tells you those protections placed in death are still active. The amulets laid on your chest, the words painted on coffin walls, the scarabs pressed into wrappings, all continue their quiet work even here. They do not announce themselves with force. They whisper, steadying, their presence a current beneath the current. Above, the stars do not drift scattershot. They align, as if each marks a boundary, tracing gates and turning points. With every ripple of the river, the water below echoes the constellations above. What feels like one steady voyage is also unfolding in measure, a procession through hours of night toward light. You begin to realize that each shimmer, each pulse of the river, is not random but ordered, part of a structure. What carries you is time itself, woven into current and sky. The imagery was especially royal in older sources, but funerary spells later made the route a map for many souls. You think of the Nile of the living world. Egyptians had tethered their entire lives to its turning, planting and harvest, rise and retreat, flood and storage. It gave continuity. It decided cycles. So here again it appears, a thread into eternity. The river reminds. Eternity will not sever what was once known, but extend it. Death in these waters does not erase. It shapes the familiar into the forever. Soft impressions grow at the horizon. Sound gathers distantly, like voices on a far bank, not loud, but distinct enough to call attention. They are the echoes the texts described, the voices of guardians and gatekeepers stationed at thresholds. They do not hunger for offerings, nor bargain with silver or wealth. Their test is quieter and more exacting. They will listen for words you must speak. Truth, unadorned, will be the offering here. The river itself seems to anticipate that moment, slowing slightly, as though holding its pulse until you are ready. The boat does not resist. It settles into stillness while you prepare. The realization comes slowly but clearly. The meaning of this crossing is not in distance or danger, but in rhythm. The vessel carries you in step with the order the ancients called mart: balance, measure, harmony. You did not cross with strength or triumph. You crossed by moving in time with what exists. At last, ahead, a glow appears where water touches horizon. Not the scattered stars this time, but a frame of light taking form, portals shining faintly above black water. The drifting voices carry stronger, layered but calm, an anticipation without anger. They are waiting not for wealth or power, but for your words, the truth spoken in balance. As the bark leans forward into that gathering glow, you sense the river's role ending. Its gift was passage, its pause is your summons. The hush deepens, and you understand the next step is not carried by the boat, but by speech that must rise within you. The water's steady, the horizon firms, and all waits for what you will answer as the gates stand before you. You step from the vessel and feel the ground appear beneath your feet. Stone rises ahead, not fragile or shifting, but rooted, dark, and immovable. Towering gates stand in silence, and beside each one waits a figure, half shadow, half form, watching with expectation. These are the guardians of the passage. Their presence is not violent, yet nothing here will yield unless you speak. One approaches its outline difficult to pin down, neither monstrous nor human, but something that resists clear shape. The air tightens, and then a voice reaches you. Calm, steady, it asks, "Did you bring lies with you?" The question does not accuse, it simply waits, as though the space itself leans forward to hear. You recall the old directions left by scribes, the formulas written for this moment. Here you speak the old affirmations, the "I have not" statements, that the dead recited before the judges. In some funerary spells, the text names 42 of these divine assessors, each tied to truth, each requiring a declaration of innocence. And so your words rise without tremor. I have not lied. The figure shifts, its substance fading like mist, and the gate behind it loosens from stone into open air. There is no sound of dismissal, no cry of judgment, only the sense that truth has been heard, accepted. For a moment you imagine the stone itself listening, tilting ever so slightly, as if the architecture bends to your words. Another guardian meets you. Its question is simple still. Did you take what was not yours? You answer softly, I have not taken what was not mine. The reply leaves your lips like breath, and again the way opens. The act does not feel rehearsed, though the words are old. The Book of the Dead offered these words deliberately, a script of honesty to guide the voice through each gate. What you speak now is not invention. It is the continuity of belief, a ritual stretching back centuries. The pattern continues. Each gate appears, each guardian waits. The questions shift but remain clear. Did you bring suffering without cause? Did you diminish what should remain whole? And your responses remain steady. No lies, no theft, no violence, no corruption. Each statement is both declaration and reminder, evidence of restraint, not conquest. What steadies you most is the rhythm. The gates do not demand brilliance or argument. They require presence and truth. A soft change moves in you as more barriers dissolve. It is not exhaustion but release, as if the weight you carried in silence begins to unravel with each answer. The confessions, called negative by scholars because of their phrasing, carry a profound affirmation underneath. They are not merely denials. They are confirmations that your life aligned with Ma'at, with the balance that shaped creation. The guardians do not measure wealth or rank. They measure resonance with truth. Occasionally, you notice how the space itself reacts. When you speak, sound does not echo against stone, but seems absorbed, as if the walls themselves nod. The imagery of the gates listening stays with you. Each passage opening is less a conquest than an acknowledgement. You spoke, the place heard, and the way yielded. This motif, repeated at every threshold, becomes almost tender in its familiarity. Your pace becomes steady, predictable. Each guardian poses a question, each answer comes clear, each barrier melts into openness. The guardians are many, but their silence between words is never hostile. They ask, you answer, and they stand aside. You do not sense judgment being stored against you. You sense checks along the route, necessary pauses to affirm that your soul has not drifted from order. The more you proceed, the closer you feel to the unity within yourself. Your Ba, the wandering essence, speaks for you in this moment. while your car, bound to memory and body, steadies the connection. With every gate opened, the distance between these halves narrows. Words bring the two together, as though truth itself calls them into harmony. Eventually, you feel the sequence thinning. Fewer gates remain. The questions are still asked, but they land with less weight, as though repetition itself has carried you into alignment. The guardians fade gently behind you, their presence no longer pressing. Their task was never to frighten or forbid, only to ensure that lies and imbalance did not slip into eternity unseen. The air ahead shifts. The line of guardians ends, and there is a pause, not filled with stone nor shadow, but with still, open space. You sense that this was always intended, a clearing after the voices. The ritual pauses before what comes next. Because there is now a threshold where words alone can no longer be enough, a place where speech gives way to measure and silence. And it is there, in that waiting calm, that the greater test begins. You step onto cool stone that feels steady beneath your feet, though no breeze or sound moves the air. Around you opens a hall larger than any temple or palace, its silence holding everything in place. This is the Hall of Ma'at, and you recognize it before you even name it. The stillness itself gives it away. The walls climb upward like cliffs, painted with figures who sit as judges, unblinking and endless. Their gaze settles on you, but it carries no resentment. They are present only to witness, not to accuse. Anubis remains at your side, calm and purposeful, leading your eyes toward the center. There, shining beneath a light with no source, rests the scale. Its beam is an even line, so precise that it feels like the very image of balance drawn into form. One pan lies empty. The other is prepared for what defines you most, your heart. Not a copy, not a symbol, but the living essence of your being. With steady care, Anubis lifts your heart and sets it in place. He does not treat it as a weight, but as a treasure, the core of your existence. For a moment, you wonder if it will betray you, beating with memories best forgotten, rising suddenly to confess before you are ready. But the Egyptians prepared for this fear. Long ago, priests placed a scarab over your chest, reciting spell 30 to ensure the heart remained quiet and faithful when the time came. That charm whispers still. The heart lies calm, its rhythm muted, no longer racing. It rests, waiting in silence. On the opposite side, Anubis lays the feather of Ma'at. Thin, luminous, impossibly light, it is drawn from the goddess of truth and justice herself. Fragile as a breath, yet here it measures the greatest of things. Two objects so different, feather and heart, yet both embody order and truth in their own form. What this balance asks is not wealth, power, or fear, but whether your life can rest beside truth without dissonance. In a calm sentence, the roles stand clear. Anubis places the heart. Thoth records the result. Amit waits for failure, and Osiris receives the justified. Behind the scales sits Thoth, ibis-headed scribe of the gods, still as ink waiting on a page. His eyes never leave the beam, his hands prepared to mark whatever the outcome shows. At the edge crouches Amit, the devourer. Not lunging, not snarling, but silent, waiting. She represents the second death, consuming only those whose hearts stain the balance with falsehood. Her presence is not aimed at you. It is simply the shadow that falls, if one's life resists harmony. She does not frighten. She reminds that imbalance ends here, but only for those who turn from order. The beam trembles once, a faint sound of metal brushing the air, then steadies. No tilt, no fall. Your heart holds equal with the feather of Mart. Balance, perfect and exact. In that suspended stillness is the verdict. No words are spoken, yet the silence says everything. Your life aligns with truth. Relief spreads across you. Not triumph, not jubilation, but quiet steadiness. What seemed a hall of judgment reveals itself as a place of peace. The greatest question has been asked, and the answer rests, balanced, in the light. You look to Anubis, who gives a calm nod. Thoth lowers his pen, the verdict marked without hesitation. Amit withdraws into stillness, untouched by hunger. And ahead, upon a distant throne, Osiris waits, not as punishment, but as welcome. The Egyptians believed this balance granted not just survival, but entrance into a world remade, familiar and ordered. To be justified was to cross into eternity not as a shadow, but as one restored in truth. That understanding settles deep inside you. Judgment is complete, and what lies ahead belongs to you without fear. The hall grows quieter still, but the silence softens into openness. A faint glow gathers, pulling your gaze toward a new horizon. You know that the way forward has cleared, and as you take the first step beyond the scales, something warmer rises at the edge of vision. Light unfolding, steady and endless, waiting just ahead. You step into open light, and what greets you is not strange or alien, but familiar. Egypt perfected. Blue skies stretch without dust or storm. Rivers shine clear as polished glass, winding across a landscape of endless green. Before you rise fields of barley and wheat, taller than your shoulders, each stalk shimmering as though brushed by unseen hands. The ears of grain are heavy with ripeness, held permanently at their peak, neither withering nor failing. A soft wind moves through them, their rustle carrying the sound of gentle welcome. This is the Sekhet Aru, the field of reeds, the homecoming promised to those whose lives kept balance. The Egyptians did not imagine eternity as an escape, but as a continuation. Here, life carries on not as burden, but as its best form. The riverbanks do not flood harshly, nor do they dry to dust. The sun warms but never scorches. The grain bends but never breaks. To live in this place is not to be stripped of the world you knew, but to see it renewed, stable, and generous without end. This afterlife is not dreamlike abstraction. It is Egypt, perfected and eternal. You pause among the fields and grasp what this means. Eternity here is not silence or idleness. Activity remains, but it is free of hardship. Here you might keep a plot of land to tend, or ask your shabtis, small servant figurines buried with you, to do the work in your stead. These little figures were carved with tools in their hands, ready to plough fields or carry baskets, ensuring that your place in the eternal cycle is honoured without weariness. Later texts even show overseers among Shabti groups, holding flails of command. What work remains is not toil, but continuity, a reminder that tending the earth, like breathing, is part of belonging. In the field of reeds, labour becomes harmony, not struggle. As you walk, faces appear through the tall grain. They are recognizable, yet brighter, uplifted, free from the weight of time. Parents, companions, brothers, children, Those whose touch you thought was gone forever step forward smiling. They are not shadows or flickering echoes. They are whole, alive, gathered in the same truth. You hear their voices as clearly as your own. Laughter returns, warm and present. The afterlife is not isolation, but reunion. The joy of connection restored without fear of loss. With each face that emerges, the certainty deepens. You are not only justified, you are home. The river runs close at hand, mirroring the Nile but free of its dangers. Small boats lie waiting on its banks. Some are simple fishing skiffs, others graceful with sails of linen catching a permanent breeze. They are not tools for struggle or trading, but for pleasure, for wandering along channels lined with papyrus and lotus, for drifting beneath the arcs of birds, wheeling lazily. To take a boat here is to feel again the timeless rhythm of river water against wood, but without concern for distance or tide. Journeys are no longer necessities. They are delights. The world continues its rituals, but only with ease. Papyrus reeds sway and murmur at the river's edge, their hollow stalks clattering soft as chimes when the wind touches them. From farther away comes the sound of sistrums, their bronze loops rattling with that familiar bright tone once heard in temple processions. The music does not demand, it welcomes. Its resonance feels like the very air of this place, affirming your arrival without words. The echo calls back reminders of earlier halls you crossed, rustling reeds, the ringing of bronze. Now returns softer here, a rhythm closing itself in peace. Within this land, even the structure of your soul feels fully joined. The car, your vital spark of life. The bar, your roaming uniqueness. And the ark, your radiant spirit. Each finds harmony now. No part of you is restless. They are folded back together, whole. To the Egyptians, this union was the goal. Transformation into an ark, living forever as a complete being, shining and effective within the order of creation. And you feel it plainly. There is no fracture left inside you. You are not a wandering shade, but alive in eternity, in balance with fields, water, sky. Among the endless growth and warm faces, you realize what the field of reeds carried as promise. Death never ended what was sacred. It preserved it, protected it, purified it into permanence. Life is not cut short and left behind, but extended without hunger or fear. The harvest remains, the river endures, and truth is woven into the ground itself. As you walk, you breathe. Whether breath or memory of breath, it feels no different here. It carries no weight, no anxiety. What surrounds you is not temporary, not fragile. This peace cannot erode. It is sewn into the fabric of eternity. Grain forever perfect, reeds forever swaying, music forever soft. The completeness of it is steady, measured, and sufficient. Here, the journey ends not with absence, but with belonging. And as papyrus rustles around you, and the notes of distant sistrums rise again, the understanding settles fully. This place was always meant to be your home. The Egyptians did not see death as ending, but as change, a return to balance where peace unfolded without interruption. Every step of the journey mattered. The embalming, the amulets placed with care, the quiet spells spoken, and the heart placed on the scales. Remember, the way was kept clear by both words and the scales. Truth spoken, truth weighed. For you, this path closes not with fear, but with quiet belonging. Rest easy in that thought, and if this calm journey felt welcome, consider lingering here with us. Subscribe for more gentle stories from the past. Sleep well.